Once upon a time, in a small village at the edge of a forest, there lived a kind old woman who longed for a child. One day she visited a mysterious woman who gave her a tiny barley corn, telling her to plant it in a flower pot. The old woman followed the instructions, and to her amazement, a beautiful tiny girl appeared from the blossom of the flower that bloomed. She named her Thumbelina, for she was no bigger than the woman's thumb. Thumbelina lived happily with the old woman, but she was often lonely due to her small size. She could fit comfortably on the back of a bird or in the hollow of a flower. However, her peaceful life would soon be interrupted by a series of strange and dangerous events. The toad's plan one day, while Thumbelina was singing her favorite song near the river, a large, ugly toad appeared from behind a rock. "Ah," the toad croaked, his yellow eyes gleaming with greed. "Such a lovely, tiny girl. I shall take her to my home, and she will be my son's bride. They will live together in the damp, dark swamp, away from the world." Before Thumbelina could scream for help, the toad grabbed her, and with surprising strength, hopped away. Thumbelina struggled, but her small size was no match for the toad's powerful legs. The toad croaked with delight as he hopped through the forest, unaware that Thumbelina was planning her escape. When they reached the swamp, the toad placed Thumbelina on a lily pad, and she realized that there was no escape. The swamp was a dark and lonely place, filled with murky waters and strange creatures. The toad's son, even more hideous than his mother, lurked nearby, staring at Thumbelina with interest. Thumbelina's heart sank. She didn't want to marry the toad's son. She didn't even know what to do. As the toad began to make plans for the wedding, Thumbelina started to cry. Her tears fell into the water, where they splashed loudly, catching the attention of a passing fish. The fish swam up to the lily pad, drawn by the sound. "Little girl," the fish said kindly, "why are you crying? I'm trapped here by this horrid toad." Thumbelina sobbed. "I don't want to marry him. I want to go home to my cottage with the kind old woman." The fish, seeing her distress, had an idea. "I'll help you," he said. "Let me swim under the lily pad and carry it away. I'll take you back to the stream, and you can escape to freedom." And that's exactly what happened. The fish swam quickly, pulling the lily pad away from the toad's swamp, and Thumbelina felt the water current lift her. As they reached the edge of the stream, Thumbelina hopped off the lily pad and ran toward the safety of the flowers on the bank. The beetle's deception. Although Thumbelina was free for a while, she was far from safe. She wandered for days, not knowing where to go. The world seemed so vast to her, and her tiny size made it difficult to survive in such a big place. One day she found herself in a meadow filled with bright flowers, hoping to rest for a moment. It was there that she encountered a charming beetle. "Hello, tiny creature," the beetle said in a smooth, honeyed voice. "You are far too beautiful to be out here all alone. Come with me, and I will keep you safe." Thumbelina, grateful for the company, agreed. The beetle, who had sparkling green wings, led her to a tall tree where he had built a grand nest. The Yara beetle promised to take care of her, and at first Thumbelina was happy to have someone to talk to. However, as the days passed, she realized that the beetle had no intention of being kind. He began to boast about his own importance and the many admirers he had, making Thumbelina feel small and insignificant. One day, when Thumbelina was out gathering food, she overheard the beetle talking to his friends. "Look at this tiny girl," he said. "She's just a little thing, so fragile. I'll marry her and show her off like a trophy." Horrified, Thumbelina realized that she had been deceived once again. She couldn't stay with the beetle, but she didn't know where to go. As she pondered her next move, A butterfly fluttered by. The butterfly noticed Thumbelina's distress and gently landed beside her. "What's wrong, little one?" the butterfly asked. "I've been tricked by the beetle," Thumbelina explained. "He doesn't care for me. He only wants to show me off and keep me as a prize." The butterfly, seeing her sadness, offered Thumbelina a solution. "You should leave him and find your own way. I can take you to a safer place where you'll find kindness." With no other choice, Thumbelina left the beetle's tree, her heart heavy with disappointment. She thanked the butterfly and flew off into the sky, hoping to find a new home where she would be free. The mole's underground, World Thumbelina's journey led her deep into the earth, where she found herself in the dark and chilly burrows of a mole. The mole had seen her from his tunnel, and his sharp eyes glinted with interest. He quickly dug his way to the surface and offered Thumbelina shelter from the cold. "I am kind-hearted," the mole said. "You will be safe with me. Come live with me in my underground world." At first, Thumbelina was hesitant. The thought of living underground, far away from the sunshine and flowers, was a troubling one. However, the mole's persistence wore her down, and she reluctantly agreed to stay for a time. Life in the mole's home was dull and gloomy. The walls of his tunnel were cold and earth-colored, and the air was damp and musty. Thumbelina could hardly see the stars at night, and there were no flowers or birds to brighten her days. The mole, though kind in his own way, was obsessed with marrying her. He would constantly tell her how lucky she was to have found such a wealthy and powerful suitor. "I am not interested in marrying anyone," Thumbelina said softly one day. "I miss the sun, the flowers, and the freedom of the open world." But the mole was stubborn. "You will grow to love my underground home," he insisted. "You are perfect for me." One day, while Thumbelina was out gathering roots, she overheard the mole talking to himself. "Once Thumbelina is my wife," he said. "We will live forever in the darkness of my tunnels. She will never need to see the sun again." Horrified by the mole's words, Thumbelina realized that she could never stay with him. She longed for the warmth of the sun and the beauty of the flowers. As she left the mole's burrow and began her escape, she thought of how lonely and isolated she had been. But she also knew that she couldn't give up on finding happiness. The fairy prince, after escaping the mole's underground world, Thumbelina wandered through the fields, trying to find a new place to call home. She felt hopeless and exhausted, but just as she was about to give up, she heard a soft voice calling her name. "Thumbelina." She looked around and saw a tiny figure standing on a flower, none other than a tiny fairy prince. He had sparkling wings and a gentle smile, and when he saw Thumbelina, he knew instantly that she was the one he had been searching for. "I've been waiting for you," the fairy prince said. "You are the one I've been looking for all this time." Thumbelina's heart swelled with joy, and for the first time in a long while she felt truly at home. The fairy prince had been under an enchantment, just as she had, and together they would break free of the loneliness that had plagued them both. Thumbelina and the fairy prince fell in love and were married in a beautiful ceremony, surrounded by flowers and sunlight. They lived happily ever after in a magical land, where Thumbelina no longer had to worry about toads, beetles, or moles. She had found her true love, and together they created a life filled with warmth, freedom, and joy. And so, Thumbelina's long and difficult journey came to an end. No longer a tiny girl lost in a vast world. She had found her place, and with love, she was no longer alone.